The No BS Spiritual Book Club, the only no BS guide to the best spiritual books to inspire your own journey of self-discovery. Here's your host, founder of the No BS Spiritual Book Club, Sandie Sedgbeer.
Hello. Melissa McCloud lived with chronic leg pain for more than 10 years. Then, during a session of quantum hypnosis, she received a message that she could not ignore. Her body, she was told, was showing her something that her mind had not yet faced. She needed to change direction. That session changed how she understood her pain, her family life, and the business she'd spent years building. It also led her into the work she does today with Dolores Cannon's quantum healing hypnosis technique, or QHHT, helping clients explore the deeper questions behind their health, their relationships, their life purpose, their past lives, and their soul path. Her 10 best list gives us a fascinating map of that journey, from Faulkner and the Illusion of Time to personal growth, physical discipline, travel, life between lives, and the work of Dolores Cannon. Melissa McCloud, welcome.
Thank you, Sandie. That's really generous. Thank you.
So tell me, what was it like for you having to choose just 10 books from the vast library in your mind?
This was a trip down memory lane, and it was such a fun exercise. So thank you for gifting me that. I could have come up with easily 10 or 20 more. So narrowing it down was really difficult. And I finally told myself, just don't overthink it. Just put some titles down. It's okay if it's not perfect. And I knew there were quite a few that I would have included, but I had seen them before with other people that had been on your episode. So these are my top 10.
Well, it's always nice to have new titles to explore. It expands the library, but at the same time, it's nice too to see the books that come up again and again.
Oh,
because
sure.
then we really get a good idea of the ones that really do shift people. Yeah. So let's start with your first book, which is The Sound and the Fury, William Faulkner, published in 1929. I mean, is this list in any particular order?
No, I would say it's relatively random, but
Okay.
there is a general backtrack. I would say it is chronologically correct.
Okay.
More or less, maybe with a little fuzzy on the middle ones. But no, The Sound and the Fury was the very first one I read when I was 16 or maybe 17 from my junior in high school honors English class. My teacher was trying to challenge us, and she did successfully. And it was such a slog getting through this book. And all these years later, 30, I couldn't even give you a great dissertation on this book. I just am reminded of how difficult it was to read because it was so new and so different. And it's a story told by different relatives in the same family, but all the timelines are different. And because we know memory is flexible, these characters are having different experiences, even though they're all going through the same thing. And it taught me that time is an illusion. And this really paved the way to the work I'm doing today. But that was the first seed that was planted. So while I have not revisited this book in many, many years, and I do not plan to, it was a great distinction. Time is an illusion, and no one had ever taught me that. I'd never come across it before, and it really shook me as a teen way back then in the 90s.
That is a really big idea to come out of a difficult novel. Did you ever go back and read the book later?
There is an excerpt on time told about a watch that I've visited many times and journaled on, but I've never attempted to tackle the novel again in its entirety.
But it definitely was the first thing that made you realize that time does not exist.
And I don't even know if Faulkner intended that, but that was my takeaway, and it landed.
Yeah. Book 2 is The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale, published in 1951.
This one I felt like was a little cliche to put on the list, but I have probably listened to this book on my Audible account 100 times. It was so profound for me at the time. And I was raised with a Presbyterian upbringing. Norman Vincent Peale's a pastor, and it was so comfortable for me as an introduction to personal development that we get what we expect. I didn't know that. I had never heard that before. And it was an easy intro for me to start realizing I could carve my own path in life. And up until then, I had really been doing what I thought I should be doing: get good grades, go to college, study hard, get more good grades, get a job with the best company you can, stay there for 50 or 60 years, retire with a gold watch. So just changing my belief system that early, and I was probably about 20 when I read it, was really powerful.
Do you know how that book came into your life, or did you go seeking it?
Someone I really respect posted about it on social media. And I thought, oh, if he's listening to this, I should too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the third book on your list, it looks like after that, you then dived into all of the old
Classics.
good ones, the classics. Yeah. Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, published in 1937.
Yeah. So Thoughts Become Things. This was given to me by a business mentor. I was involved in a network marketing company back, this is in my early 20s. I was introduced, and my mentor in the business taught me that if you're going to be successful, you have to find your own motivation. It has to come from you. It's not going to come from a boss because you don't have one. And he gave me this book, and it told me he read it every single year. And I was willing to do whatever he told me to do to be successful in business. And so I took it on. And even though I felt like it was a little masculine, like it felt like very much masculine energy, I just was doing what I was told. And this whole idea of thoughts become things led me to Wallace Wattles, Jim Rohn, Abraham Hicks. I felt like it was this gateway into my own personal development study. No one else was telling me what to read at that point. I was then searching for it my own. But Napoleon Hill was, I can see now, very revolutionary. And I've even heard since then that he had to edit this book to make it palatable for the time, when I love to see the original manuscript of what it really was. But that one, I know it's overplayed maybe, but yeah, it kickstarted the real journey for me for then pursuing what I wanted to read in the space.
So the one that follows it, we should not be surprised, is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, published in 1936. A lot came out in that particular era. A lot of the old
These
ones.
are such old-timey books. Thanks for humoring me. I was being observed by my same mentor that gave me Think and Grow Rich. And he said, you are not connecting very well with people. So this book is maybe veers more towards improving your selling skills, maybe not so much in the spiritual space, but it taught me that humans can be cracked. There's a code to crack. You can study it. And we're all very, very similar when you get right down to it. We all want the same things. We all want to be comfortable. We all want to be loved and in love. We all want to take care of things that are important to us and contribute to society, etc. And when you can crack that code, you can be successful. And we're all connected. We're all one. And that's what I got from this book. So I was beginning my business from the desire to make money, and it helped me pull back and realize the bigger picture. It's about human connection. And I think this book should be taught in high schools. When I have a 15-year-old daughter right now, and the people skills these kids need, especially for the future when we're not taught them because everyone's like this all the time. Remembering people's names and encouraging people to talk about themselves, just to connect. I remember then putting my foot forward in the dating world later on in my 20s, and the knowledge from this book, I was a great dater because I knew how to connect with someone quickly, come away from the meeting thinking, that was one of the best conversations I'd ever had. She's awesome. I always got asked for second dates when really the person was just talking about themselves because I had known how to win friends and influence people.
And you knew how to listen.
Yeah, it is.
So the next book on your list, book 5, The 4-Hour Work Week, Tim Ferriss, published in 2007. That's what I need.
I know. It's possible. So Tim Ferriss was probably one of the first real influencers that I followed. This book was given to me as a wedding present from a friend that knew I was pursuing a different path with my life and career. And Tim talks about leaving behind the 9-to-5 and building the life you want. It was following a different path. And as a newlywed, I'm thinking back to, this is 2009. I got married. I was 30. I was working a job in sales as a pharmaceutical sales rep. And I knew it wasn't my path, but the money was so good. And I wasn't gutsy enough to turn it down. And so this book really got me inspired again. I'd already tried my hand at business before. I had some ups and downs there that led me back to the corporate world. If you can call pharmaceutical sales corporate, I think you probably could, even though you're not in an office and certainly not tied to a boss breathing down your neck every day. But it offered me that freedom that I wanted, but it wasn't quite giving me that. And so the 4-hour work week enabled me to just be gutsy and follow a different path. And he does such a great job of sharing story after story after story of other people that have done it. So why not you? That sort of thing. And then a couple of years later, I was at an NBA, this is a professional basketball game in Northern California, with my husband, who is very into sports. I could care less. And a couple rows in front of me, I saw Tim Ferriss. I noticed the back of his head. He's early balding man. And I said, that's Tim Ferriss. And my husband said, how do you know? You're looking at the back of his head. I said, gosh darn it, that is Tim Ferriss. I just know it. And so at halftime, I went down. Sure enough, it was Tim Ferriss. And I'm remembering now, I was so pregnant. And I told him how much his book meant to me and what I'd done. And could I take a picture? And he was so gracious. And so I actually met Tim Ferriss.
Okay, so the next book, number 6, The Magic of Thinking Big, David Schwartz.
I know all these old-timey books. I wasn't even thinking like that when I put these down. When I met Tim Ferriss, I'd asked him a business question. And instead of answering it, he said, you need to read The Magic of Thinking Big. And I am such a good student. I was such a people pleaser at the time. I went home, I ordered that book, and I poured through it. And it got me to realize how small I was thinking. I was thinking so small. And I was self-doubting. I didn't have a lot of confidence. And I decided to pursue something really, really big and not have an average life. Not to knock anyone who's having what I might have considered an average life at the time. Now I know that we're all on our own paths and they're all beautiful. And I just wanted something more for myself. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to live around the world. And it set me on a ferocious journaling exercise of designing that life and what it was going to look like, and really tiptoeing around my husband to not be too forceful. Like, I know you married this version of me, but now we're going to do this. I had to enroll him in this journey if I wanted to go for it and take him along with me. And it's been really exciting. And I think that he would say I've really added a lot to his life that he wouldn't have had otherwise, because I wanted extraordinary and I was willing to go after it.
So is there one thing in particular that stands out from that book? One thing you learned that you really felt was magic?
Yeah, it's that your success is not based on how smart you are, your God-given talent. It's about pursuing what you desire, even though you have all the self-doubt, you're not the smartest, you're not the prettiest, you're not the richest. All those things actually don't matter. It's just the magic of thinking big, because you're thinking so small. And so, yeah, just expanding your thinking, expanding your thinking, expanding your thinking.
Okay. Book number 7, Living with a Seal, Jesse Itzler, published in 2015. And I do not mean the kind that you find in the ocean.
Yeah, they're the elite Navy SEALs. Yeah.
So where does this book fit?
This book is so wild. I was at a business conference, and someone on stage that was giving a keynote said to read this book. And the way he described it, I thought, oh, my husband would like that. So I bought it for my husband. He never read it. Finally, I pick up this book, and it's about Jesse Itzler. He's an entrepreneur that meets a Navy SEAL, and he invites the Navy SEAL to move in with his family. He had a wife. He still has a wife and a bunch of kids. And this SEAL trained him for 30 days. And so he ate, breathed, worked side by side with the SEAL to understand the mindset of what it takes to be a Navy SEAL. And one of the big takeaways from the book is when you physically think you are spent, you are done, you're actually maybe 40% of the way there. There's so much more left in the tank. And I grew up as an athlete. I was a really competitive swimmer, and then runner, and then triathlete, and did marathons all through my 20s. And I knew what it was to expend your energy until I read this book. And I decided I was going to take on a fitness competition. This is like a bodybuilding show, but a softer look. It's called a bikini competition. And this book helped me pursue this goal and tap into the mental, physical reserves my body has that I didn't even know I was capable of. And when you're training for a bodybuilding show like this, it is a complete mind game with your nutrition. You're eating the same thing every day for months and months and months and months, just increasing or decreasing the quantities, which is difficult, especially when you're raising a family. I had 2 small kids. And then you're pushing yourself in the gym. And then I was still incorporating running into my activities because I just liked that. And the things I did as I was 38 years old, I was blowing myself away. I did not know I had it in me until I read this book. And so some people might feel like this is a fitness book, and it certainly is to some extent, but being able to go there, like push yourself like that, it was a completely spiritual experience for me. And I entered this novice category during the bikini show. It was for first-time competitors. And I won, Sandie. I got first place.
Wow. That's something. So I guess, the takeaway there is it's not just the physical discipline. You can apply that to just absolutely any part of your life.
It's all mental.
Yeah. Book number 8, Vagabonding. That appeals to me. An Uncommon Guide to the Art of Long-Term World Travel by Rolf Potts, 2002. Have you been vagabonding?
Sandie, you are embodying this book, Vagabonding. You don't even need to read it. You could write it. You are a vagabond. This book was passed to me by my husband. He'd heard about it in a podcast. And Rolf Potts is an international traveler. He even did an experiment. 6 months, he traveled the world with no luggage. He wore cargo pants, and he put a change of underwear and his phone and his passport in his cargo pants. And then he had one layer, like a heavy sweater, and he traveled the world for 6 months. Is incredible. And I had always wanted to live abroad. I missed the boat when it came to studying abroad in university. I should have done it then, but I didn't. And I'd given up on this dream to move abroad. I was married. I had 2 children. At the time, they were 4 and 6. And I just couldn't see how I was going to ever live abroad. My husband had a job that was tying us to where we were living. And this book opened me up to this long-held dream I had. And I thought, why not? And if not now, when? It was just going to get more difficult when the kids were getting older and developing activities and friendships and opinions. And so I felt if I was going to do this, I needed to do it. And my husband knew that I really wanted to do this, but had shelved the idea along with me. And I re-enrolled him. So this is something I really want to do, and we can do it together. And I had a plan. He was going to quit his job or maybe take a sabbatical if they would let him do that. I started selling all of our things, and we told our parents. They thought we were crazy. And I thought that was a good sign. And my husband got cold feet. And he said, if we're going to do this, we need to wait a whole nother year so that we can save more money. And I thought I could get him on board, but I wanted him to be a hell yes. I didn't want to just pull him along and then have him begrudgingly come along. So I let it be. And not long after that, this position came up in his company to work in Sri Lanka, which is in South Asia, a little tiny island country off the coast of India. And it has never been offered to Americans. It was a company that was always run by Sri Lankans. And he saw the job posting. Someone else in his company sent it to him and said, you should go for it. And long story short, we moved to Sri Lanka, and it was checked every box. It fulfilled all my dreams. I wanted to move abroad. We got to do it with the kids. And then he got to keep working and saving money, which was what he really felt was important. So that was just magic. And then that position led us to a job in the UK. I lived in London for 5 years after that. And it was an absolute dream come true. I would have done it all over again many, many times if given the opportunity, even though there was a significant amount of hardship, especially in Sri Lanka, because it's such a poor country, but so incredible. And yeah.
Before if your husband had said yes before saying, let's wait a year, and you'd gone ahead, where would you have gone?
We were going to do what was called hashtag van life at the time, where people would get an RV and travel the country. And so I was going to do a lot of the national parks, homeschool, live in an RV. And then for the other 6 months, we were probably going to go to Australia. I don't know what the laws are now, but at the time, foreigners could go to public school in Australia. And when I was doing all the research for this, reading blogs and books and listening to podcasts of other families that had taken a gap year, a lot of them were going to Australia at the time because of that. This is pre-COVID, not sure if things have changed, but it was 6 months in the US, 6 months in Australia.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing to do, to just say, and it's the scariest. It's exactly what I did. What makes you think that you can even succeed at doing that?
It's so gutsy.
And, I did it after my kids left home, which was probably the best time to do it. Because I, had them very young. So there's still a lot of, get up and go in me. But I would recommend it to everybody, because you really do get to expand, everything, your world, your thinking, just about everything.
Oh my gosh. It was such a gift to my kids and me. To be like Sri Lanka, you're a minority, you're a guest in this country, and the day-to-day life is so different than anything I'd ever known. It was so uncomfortable in the beginning until I adjusted. And if I can do that, I can do anything. That's
exactly. And what a gift to your children.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you went back to America after the 5 years in the UK was up?
Yeah. So my husband was also there working. His assignment ended, and we don't have to talk about immigration laws, but we couldn't stay. And so we needed to come back to the United States, where we have the right to live.
Did that upset you?
No, because we always knew that was the plan. We were going to do a family gap year for 1 year, and it turned into over 7 years. What a treat. It was more than I had wanted. It was better than I could have planned myself. And so the plan was always to come back. And my kids have always connected with being American. I think being in Asia it's so different. They doubled down on their Americanism.
Yes.
And so we always came back to visit, except for during COVID when we couldn't. And we always spoke as a family that we'll end up back in the United States. And here, secondary school is called high school, the last 4 years of formal schooling or compulsory schooling. So we wanted to get the kids back before high school, which is the age my daughter was. So the timing was appropriate.
Fun. I mean, my gap year, I said I was going for 2 years. I went for 20.
I think you're still on your gap year, Sandie.
Yeah, I still pop in and out of my gap year.
You're living the dream.
Yeah. One definitely needs to get around and open our eyes. Yeah. I've always felt that it would be so useful for our children to have to live in a foreign country and see how other children live. And they would learn to appreciate a lot more, particularly if it's third world countries.
Certainly.
Yeah.
I mean, you can read about it, but until you're having dinner out and there's a child begging at your table, it's a completely different experience.
Yeah. So, number 9, book number 9. This is a book that has been popping up into my life, several times frequently. Recently. Life Between Lives, Dr. Michael Newton, published in 2004. We just did an interview. I think it was broadcast a couple of days ago with Pete Smith, who was Michael Newton's friend and became the president of the Institute after Michael died.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's fantastic. You did that. Wow.
Yeah. A fascinating book and such a game changer.
I mean, I could have picked any of Brian Weiss's books, and Dolores, of course, is my last book, but this was the first one I read about this past life regression and what happens before we incarnate. And I'd always been interested in, let's call it like the supernatural. When I was a kid, I was so interested in Sasquatch and aliens and past lives and black holes and all these, I mean, the pyramids, all these unknown mysteries type things. And I came across this book in Sri Lanka. It was in a bookstore, and it led me to read all the work that was out there, everything by Dr. Newton, and then Brian Weiss, and then Dolores Cannon. And it just made so much sense. Of course, there's more to this life. Of course, our souls are eternal, even if our bodies are not. It just really landed with me, and just resonated. I devoured these books, and because of Dolores's work, that one was hers. Just landed a little bit more. It was just more in depth. It was more of the esoteric. It was her body of work. It spans so much more than just past lives. And so into this last book, Between Death and Life, I could have picked any of Dolores Cannon's book, but this was the one that really helped me decide this is what I want to do for work. This is the way for me.
And how has that changed your life?
I have a new career, and I have a career I can do anywhere in the world, which has been such a gift. And being able to work around my family and not fit my family into my job.
Your list, I mean, it's taken us through mindset, confidence, business, discipline, travel, time travel, soul memory, life between lives. But, the thread running through it all seems to be that we are far more than the personality we present to the world. So, when you look back over your trajectory, I mean, what you believe now versus what you were brought up to believe, there must be quite a chasm there.
I'd agree. Yeah. Also, I would say being raised in the church, I was in a family that went to church every Sunday, but not a family that I would say was particularly religious. We went to church, and we didn't say grace at dinner. Like, we went to church, but we weren't talking about religion during the week. So even though I was introduced to religion, it wasn't drilled into me. And my parents are very private people, and I didn't get the impression that they were steering me in a certain way. And so I always felt like I had the ability to read different things and talk about different things, learn about different things, pursue what I wanted. The only thing I would say was very directed from my upbringing was, you're going to college. It wasn't whether or not I would go to university. It was, you're going to university. So I certainly followed that path, and probably unspoken was that you were going to be a good student, get good grades, go to university. And I certainly bought into all that too. And I have a hope for that for my children as well. But as far as like strict religious dogma or thinking, I would say it was easy to shed that and have my own spiritual journey.
Mm. You know, we started in the intro talking about the pain that you'd had for 10 years. Once you understood the message behind it, did the pain stop?
So what happened was I was introduced to a quantum hypnosis practitioner. This was at a yoga fundraiser at the Natural History Museum in London, just to set the scene. You're doing yoga and experiencing a sound bath under the beautiful whale skeleton that sits in their entryway. Nature's Cathedral, they call it. And a friend of a friend was there. Her name's Jovi. She's a quantum hypnosis practitioner like I am now. And she said to me, if people have any big life questions, I can just help them connect with their higher self. Your higher self has all the answers, and it knows your life's purpose, and it has a record of every life you've ever lived. And I thought, whatever that is, I want to do it. And I'd been dealing with this pain, and I felt like this leg pain was probably psychosomatic because it would come and go. It never bothered me at night. I could manage it, but it was still preventing me from doing things I really wanted to do, like get back to running. And so I got on her wait list. It took me 4 months to see her because she's so popular. And my main question for my higher self during a quantum hypnosis session, my first one, was, what is going on with my legs, this leg pain? What is the reason behind it? And the answer that came through, and when a client is under hypnosis in this style of hypnotherapy, they're talking the whole time. So she's asking the question, why is Melissa having this leg pain? And I'm talking about myself in third person, channeling the answer. And it was that the body's very literal. The body communicates with us through these somatic signals like pain. And Melissa is on the wrong track, going in the wrong direction. And I'd been in a business that was related to the weight loss industry, and it had run its course. It had run its course over a decade ago. And I just kept trying to make it work. And it was like this energetic mismatch, trying to get this business to be what it once was, successful. And I couldn't let it go. And in the session, I finally gave myself permission to release this business. You had a great thing in your 20s and 30s, and now it's time to move on. It's beyond time to move on. You weren't supposed to keep trying to make this thing work into your 40s. And it was such a relief. I just needed to hear it. I needed to hear it from my higher self. And I knew at the time that people used hypnosis for weight loss. The most common causes are weight loss, smoking cessation, and past life regression. And so I thought I could kind of shift my business with adding hypnosis because I had all these weight loss clients. And so I got certified. I got certified in the same method Dolores Cannon started, and another one called Beyond Quantum Healing that enables us to do it online. Dolores's method from her family that still manages her business. They want these sessions to always be in person. And so Beyond Quantum Healing enables me to do it on Zoom, as you know. And then I also got certified in classic hypnosis, which is more like smoking cessation, stress, that kind of thing. So I ended up with all these tool belts, because all these tools in my tool belt, because I'm an overachiever and wanted to have all the knowledge, and had plenty of weight loss clients to begin my practice with. And so when I would put clients under hypnosis and ask, why are they having trouble losing weight? Why is so-and-so not able to have success in their weight loss journey? The answers from their higher self were so astounding, way different than how I would work with a client traditionally, which was having them track their food intake, monitoring calories in versus calories out. That's how we help people lose weight in Western diet culture. I would track people's water intake, how many times they were working out, how many steps they were taking. It was a lot of math. And this was completely opposite. One of my clients told herself, your body is a reflection of your house, and your house is a reflection of your body. And until you declutter your house and get rid of all the junk that's in your attic, you will not lose weight. And so she went home and decluttered her house, and that kickstarted her weight loss journey. Well, I didn't even know what her house looked like. I never would have told her that, but she told herself that. Another client told herself, your metabolism is just slow, but you can kickstart it with ginger, but you need to blend it in a clear juice and have it on an empty stomach first thing in the morning. I'd never heard that. Another client told herself to engage her metabolism, she needed to be barefoot on the earth 20 minutes a day, 3 times a week. And I didn't know at the time that's called earthing or grounding. And it's a whole thing. And so now I do it too, because I want the energy and these positive ions from the earth that all animals get because they're connected and they're not wearing shoes like we are. It's so beneficial for us, just being connected with the earth like that. Another woman told herself she had 4 young kids. And when she would feed them, she wouldn't make a plate for herself because she could just pick off their plate because kids leave leftovers on their empty plates. And she told herself, you are eating waste. It's like someone's garbage when they leave leftovers on their plate. And it's a different energy when you make a plate of food yourself, and your kids will see you sitting with them, eating from your own plate, nourishing yourself just like you're nourishing them. And so she had to sit and take that extra step to make her own plate, even though she was in the habit of not wasting food, eating her kids' plates, because that energy is trash. And so now I don't do that anymore either. I don't eat people's leftovers if I want to, because it looks good.
So there are many schools of hypnotherapy, different approaches. There are many people who do past life regression. What is different about Dolores Cannon's method?
I will say Dolores' method is very explicit. It is a script that you follow line by line if you're going to do it, how she does it. And so there's a little less flexibility than, let me back up. This is the one I'm trained in, and it's so effective. I still practice it with all my clients that are not on Zoom. And so I believe in it 100%. But if you want to have a little more flexibility or be loosey-goosey with your sessions, I tend to do beyond quantum healing for that, because it allows for the flexibility. But Dolores, she was the OG. She was the original that was able to do the past life plus connect with the higher self. And the way that she found out just by doing thousands and thousands of sessions that developed this technique informed all the other ones that I studied and that I still practice. And so she was able to get this clear connection with the subconscious. We call it now the higher self. And I did not get that when I was studying Brian Weiss, Michael Newton, especially not in classical hypnosis. And so I would say it's this clear connection with the client's higher self. And when I do classic hypnosis, like for example, my daughter just went through finals week. And so I was doing sessions with her, helping her have this calm confidence when she was studying and test taking. It was me putting her under hypnosis and just talking to her, and she's taking it in, and it's reprogramming her subconscious just to show up to an exam and be calm and embodied. That is nothing like Dolores Cannon. Dolores Cannon is the client is channeling the answer through their higher self. And it is a deep, deep, deep state of hypnosis. We can all get to light states of hypnosis on our own, just sitting quietly for a few minutes, even reading a book, sitting and drinking your tea on your front garden, looking out at the trees. We all get in these real light states of hypnosis, but Dolores knows how to go deep, and she brings her clients. She teaches us to bring our clients to this theta brain wavelength state that most people can't access on their own unless they are monks living a very remote monastic lifestyle for years and years and years. It's like that shortcut to theta.
What do you do when someone receives guidance from their higher self that they don't want to hear, and they're really not very happy about putting into practice.
I would say it's always positive and loving, because it's them. It's them talking to themselves. They love themselves so much. Their higher self loves us so much. So it's always a very positive experience. And you're not going to receive information that you're not prepared for, or you can't handle. Sometimes it's a little tough love. It can be like a little tough love, that what you need to hear, even if you don't want to hear it. I would say that the clients often delay taking action. So in a QHHT session, the client goes home with a recording of the session. And they even tell themselves in the session how many times they should listen to the recording. And there is so much content. It goes on for an hour or two. And so there's so much information for them to absorb. And it'll begin to fade as they leave the session, even though they're lucid during the experience. And so the listening to the recording is very important, because information they gave themselves may not make a lot of sense right then, but a couple weeks or months later, it'll really land if they are deciding to make the shift. So I would say the session's the beginning of the shift. It's on them if they're going to actually do the work. Like, I'm thinking of a client that she told herself in a session to begin a meditation practice. Now, is she actually going to go home and do it? A lot of us have great intentions with meditation, but who's actually doing it every morning when they wake up, or every afternoon, or whenever it's best for them? So I would say my job is done with the session. I think I do great follow-up when I connect with the person in the following days and week afterward, but it's on them if they're actually going to go do what their higher self told them to do.
You know, what kind of people, I mean, what is the motivation, do you think, for someone who wants to have a past life? Is it because they want to find out, curiosity, who they were, whether they were someone famous or well-known, or whether, trying to prove something to themselves? Or is it people who know that, one of the ways of healing current issues is to look into the past?
I would say it's different. So when I first had my session, I did not know past life was a part of it. And I saw a very simple past human life in my first session that told the story that I needed to hear. But most people come with the intention of, they have these burning big life questions they want answered. They're not looking for a past life regressionist. I can do that, but past life is just a part of the QHHT session. Most people want to know, what's my life's purpose? Am I on the right track? They want assistance with a relationship. They have questions about their kids. They have questions about aches, pains, illness, like I did. So I would say they're not looking for a past life regression. But some people know that there's cellular memory that we can carry from past lives that are still affecting us now. Like, one client I had migraines, and she came for migraines. And when I regressed her, she saw a past life as some type of royal that was thrown from a horse, and it cracked her neck, and it led to these migraines. And we say, when you name it, you tame it. Just bringing that to the surface clears it. And so that's all she needed to get rid of her migraines, was to acknowledge that this happened and it can be left in the past, and she doesn't need to carry it forward anymore. So the past lives are a big part of this session, but not why people come and book a session with me.
Yeah. I mean, how common is it for people to argue, yeah, but that was my imagination?
It's very common. So when I do the pre-session, before I actually bring someone to these theta brainwave states of hypnosis, I'm preparing them for your conscious mind is always going to be there. I wish I could turn it off, but I can't. And it is going to be telling you, you are making this up. You are making this up. The sessions get emotional often, and I don't think people can fake that. The average person can't start bawling on command. So if someone's crying, it's usually a sign for them, like, wow, I was really under. And when people, I had a session yesterday, and someone from the client's past showed up in the session and had a message for her. And this person was not on their list of questions. It wasn't someone she had even been thinking of, but they just showed up and they came through with a message. And so things like that often happen in the sessions where the client knows I was really under, and I was connected to universal source, or all that is, or whatever we want to call it, when I was able to access someone like that.
Obviously, Dolores is very much connected with past life regression, but from what you describe, it also helps people understand present life a great deal. What's the most interesting, fascinating, unusual situation you've ever encountered?
Oh my God, I could talk for 2 weeks straight about the wacky things that happen in these sessions. Um, let's see. Oh, one of my own sessions I was under, and I have a lot of friends in the industry where we'll trade sessions back and forth. So if I have a question, we can do a session together. I can get it answered. One session, I was a molecule of atmosphere before creation. And
Wow.
I was hanging out in, it wasn't even the universe at the time, before Earth was created. And every day was the same. It was so boring, but my job was so important because I knew I was connected to something that there wasn't words for. I think it was God or the universal energy or a source or all that is. And I was just waiting, waiting, waiting. And I just had to hold space like this because Earth was about to be created. And my life now is very, very full. My family has moved every couple years, where we've lived all over the United States and then Asia and then Europe, and the travel and the different things that we've been able to do. It's been so exciting, maybe a little exhausting, but so exciting. And it was because I used to be this molecule that was so bored. I mean, it was boring. And now I got to come forth and do all of the things. I wanted to do everything I could and not leave anything on the table in this lifetime. And
So when you were this conscious molecule, did you have an awareness that there were others like you?
yes, I
You did.
Yeah.
Must have been hell then. You know that there are others like you, but you've got no connection to them.
Yeah.
Connection with them, no communication.
Right.
With
There was
them.
no communication.
That's hell.
There was just a knowing. I'm thinking of another client that, so this is a client that had a belief that a drug his mother took when she was pregnant with him, which is now banned, led to a disability. And so I regressed him. He had a past life where he was this ancient fish in the deep ocean that was huge and had a big mouth with all these rows of teeth. And all he had to do was just barely move his tail to stay where he needed to live in the deep, deep ocean. And it was so dark. He didn't know what was above. He didn't know what was below. It was so deep. There was no light down this deep in the ocean. And the only reason he was able to eat is because he just sat with his mouth open, and then little tiny particles and little fishies or whatnot would come into his mouth. But his whole existence was just barely moving his tail. And he told himself in the session that you have this huge excuse that you're handicapped and you're not, and it prevents you from doing anything at all with your life, and you're just wasting away. Oh, and in this session, when he died, he went belly up, and this is where I do my sessions here. It stunk. My house stunk. And he said it and I smelled it too. And so he told himself, his higher self came in and said, you're using this excuse to prevent you from living the life you're meant to live. And you're just like this fish that is just barely doing anything, just barely surviving. And you're not even exploring what's above you and what's below you. And so he told himself to get over it. You're not handicapped. Go live your life. Do the things you want to do. And did he actually live this life as an ancient fish in the deep? I don't know, but the message landed, and it's what he needed to hear to go pursue what he wanted to do.
And did his life change?
So he does not follow up with me, and I don't follow up with him. I hope his life changed. I got the message. I hope he did too.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? You can get the message, but whether you actually listen to it is another thing.
Yeah. I mean, aliens, a lot of people have off-planet lives as aliens on different planets and even in different universes. So that's always fantastical to hear. Animals, a lot of people are animals in past lives.
And people think that it's impossible, to be an animal. And if you were an animal, you've evolved since then, so you will never be an animal again.
Yeah.
There's like a hierarchy there but of course, some animals are far more advanced than we are.
Yeah. I had a client, this is when I was in London, I had this Scottish client, and one of her questions that she asked, you get to come to a session with 10 questions. She asked herself, what was my favorite past life? And in the session, she said, oh, you were a bug. I said, a what? A bug. She was a bug, bug. And that was her favorite life.
Short life. So, I mean, would you say that everyone who crosses your threshold, if they didn't believe it before, they believe it after? Or is there, a huge proportion of people who just can't allow themselves to believe this?
I don't think people book a session if they don't have some belief. The only people that are kind of resistant are ones where their spouses have told them, you've got to do a session with Melissa because they had such a good experience. So those people are a little more, let's say, wary, but I'm sure there's people that then second guess themselves and might talk themselves out of it, saying, no, you were just making that up. You read that in a book somewhere, or you saw that in a movie. But I'm not here to convince them. I think it's the proof is in the pudding.
Have you noticed that as time goes on, you're getting more and more people talking about past lives as aliens, as not having been on this planet before?
I would say it's been the same ever since I've been doing this for the last few years. But what is more common, I think, is that a lot of people will see a past life that's this current life they're living. And so they see scenes from the life they're living now, but they see them in a different way. And they maybe misinterpreted them when they happened and they were a child. And they needed to understand that what you thought happened didn't happen. I would say it's more and more common that people just visit their youth, their childhood. And I make an earnest effort to regress them beyond that and take them back and back and back and try to get to a past life. But often their higher self wants to show them this human life, because this human life we're living now is the most important life of all. It's where our consciousness is focused. And all those other lives are happening. In fact, because time is an illusion, they're happening right now. But the most important life is this one now. And it's fun to be curious, and it's fun to play in the spirit plane, and it's fun to have a past life, and it's fun to find out, ooh, was I Cleopatra? Did I walk with Jesus? Everyone wants that. But it's important to focus on this current life we're living now and not get too lost in that playground, the spirit playground.
I understand that, but do you ever get future lives showing up?
Because the future can take on a multitude of timelines, I can get glimpses of the future, but we're very careful in letting a client that's asking about the future know that because you're in the sea of possibility, anything could happen, and future predictions are very difficult. So a big question people come with is, where am I supposed to live? As a former expat, a member of these expat communities, a lot of people want to know, where should I be living long term? And it's very hard to get a clear answer on that, because you can have a successful life living in many, many places. And most people that are coming with a few different ideas, like, should I live here or here, are not choosing an amazing paradise location or a war-torn country. They're choosing two great options that would unfold wonderfully for both of them, for either of them. So the future is more difficult to get, definitely. Yeah.
I've had, a handful of regressions over the last 30 years. And, one in particular was incredibly visceral. Others seem to be different in that some, I was very impassive, just observing, judging, but not really feeling connected to the being that I was supposed to have been me. And others you do feel connected to. Why is that?
I think when you're done with a life and you learned all the lessons, you're done, you move on. And then there's other lives where you don't fulfill all the contracts or the agreements or the promises you made when you came forth, and you have to continue at it. I had a recent client that had a lot of past lives as in the Catholic Church, nuns, priests, clergymen, like all these different roles in the Catholic Church. And she had fulfilled every contract she had there and was able to move on. And so her higher self didn't want to spend much time there. It was done. Like those agreements had been completed, and she was able to explore other things. But her question was, what past lives have I had? And so that was mentioned, but there was no need to dwell on it type thing. But yeah, there's things that we're still learning. Well, that's why we're reincarnating, because we need to pass the test. And if we don't pass it, we got to come back and pass it again. Like a lot of us right now, we are asked, people ask what's my life's purpose? And a lot of people are here to learn self-love, non-judgment. These are hard human things to learn. We're still learning them, and we have to keep coming back. I love myself, but do I really love myself? Do I love myself unconditionally and unfailingly? These are hard lessons.
So you were very, very ambitious when you first started your working career. What does success mean to you now? Because you're not in a business that necessarily could overnight turn into multi-million-pound business with offices all around the world. You're in a quite different business where you're dealing one-on-one with people. So who are you now? You're happy with that, knowing that, all of that, I've lost all of that kind of urge to be rich, famous, successful, whatever. And I am absolutely thrilled to be doing what I'm doing.
I used to want that, and I have no interest in it anymore. I do not want to be famous. I don't want to make a name for myself. I don't want people to know who I am. I want referrals, and that's from clients, and that's it. I feel like I have complete autonomy over my time, and I couldn't ask for anything more. I have complete freedom and flexibility over my time in this career, and I find it to be incredibly fulfilling. With my weight loss clients, there was so much follow-up. Every time I did a follow-up, I had to go review what we talked about the last time, catch myself up to speed, remind myself where they are in their journey. And then it was constant weekly follow-up. Now it is one and done. Someone comes in for a session. We have our time together. I do a little bit of follow-up. I offer a follow-up package if they want. Some of them do come back for follow-up sessions, which are really quick. I can do them on Zoom. We just jump on, they ask a question they maybe is on their hearts, but it is the clients are not taking up space in my brain because I know I got to help them the next week and they didn't have a great week. It is just one and done. And so that's what has worked so well with my lifestyle right now.
So the girl who looked forward with great ambition is now not so ambitious in that sense, but perfectly happy with the life that she's living.
Yeah, maybe not ambitious in that sense, but I feel like I cracked the code. Like I'm this completely present parent that has this whole world in hypnotherapy on the side. Like how cool I get to do that. And I'm living now in Detroit, Michigan, which is seeing this rebirth in the city. And there's so many small businesses coming up, so many resources for people that want to start a business here. And the networking is so fun. It's all these solopreneurs like myself and other people starting brick and mortars. And so I drop in on these different networking events and meet just the coolest people that are up to stuff. And it's just a fun space for me to exist in right now. Will I do this forever? I don't know, but it's amazing for this chapter of life I'm in right now.
Do you feel that this is your purpose, your mission? This is why you came back this time?
So our purpose is so much more esoteric than that. Our purpose isn't I came to be a hypnotherapist. The purpose is I came to like make people happy, or I came to spread light. Okay, so my purpose is I'm an ambassador of light, and I get to be an ambassador of light no matter what my occupation is, because it's something we do through our actions, not through our job and how we get paid. And so I'm fulfilling my purpose through this career right now, but I fulfill my purpose in a lot of different ways. Like I'm thinking of this this women's group I joined that's like a little stodgy, they're a little polished, they're a little too perfect, and I get to show up in this women's group and find my people and be myself and be this bright light because I'm an ambassador of light. And I feel like everyone in this women group knows me. They all know who I am because I'm just a little different, because I'm me and I'm being myself. And I'm fun and outgoing and smiley and connect with people and invite people to coffee. And yeah, so that's fulfilling your purpose is not your job. It's how you live your life.
Yeah. Melissa McCloud, thank you for sharing your 10 best spiritual books list.
Thank you,
with
Sandie.
the No BS Spiritual Book Club.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for doing the work you're doing. It's so important. You're helping raise the consciousness of this planet. So thank you.
Thank you. So most of us are taught to treat the body as a problem to manage. Pain is something to silence. Weight is something to battle. Fatigue, cravings, tension, and discomfort are treated as interruptions to normal life. But what if the body is often far more honest than the mind? Melissa McCloud's story reminds us that the wisdom we are searching for may not arrive as a dramatic revelation. It may arrive as a pain that will not go away, or a pattern that keeps repeating, a restlessness we cannot explain, or a quiet knowing that the direction we're taking no longer fits who we are becoming. The deeper question is not always, how do I fix this? Sometimes it is, what truth have I been refusing to hear? Because the body will only speak quietly for so long. It may wait, it may ache, it may keep sending the same signal in different ways. And when we've ignored ourselves for long enough, it can make the message impossible to miss. Remember that. Melissa McCloud is a past life regressionist, quantum hypnotherapist, QHHT practitioner, and the founder of Detroit Hypnotherapy. Her work helps people explore the deeper meaning behind health issues, emotional patterns, life purpose, relationships, career questions, past lives, and the wisdom of the higher self. And you can find out more about Melissa and her work at DetroitHypnotherapy.com. And as always, you can find Melissa's full 10 best list in our library at the NoBSSpiritualBookClub.com. That's it for this week. I'm Sandie Sedgbeer. I'll see you next time.
If today's conversation sparked your curiosity, you'll love our other shows. The Synergy Sessions, where leading-edge thinkers collide in bold, unscripted dialogues that ignite new possibilities. Between Realms and Reason, where we journey into the mysterious consciousness, energy, and the hidden layers of reality, where science converges with spirit in ways you've never imagined. And the No BS Spiritual Book Club, where leading-edge new thought speakers, teachers, authors, and luminaries who've walked this path before you share the 10 books that had the biggest impact on their life journey. All 3 shows are available on YouTube, Spotify, Substack, and all major podcast platforms. For more information, visit sedgbeer.com. That's SEDGBEER.com.